This is a WCBI First Alert Severe Weather Update.
Hello and good morning, friends. I'm WCBI TV Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. We have a tornado warning now in effect for southeastern Oktibbeha County and for Lowndes County here. That does include the city of Columbus. Right now we have a Doppler radar indicated possible tornado developing down here in southeastern parts of Oktibbeha County. Easy for me to say, right near Oktok right now. This is moving off to the northeast, and this is that's the area of storm that we're most concerned about right there, that little Boeing structure right there. So this is essentially right there over the Oktok community. This is Doppler radar indicated. Let's go to our shear rate product here, and that is basically near Blocker Road and Pike Road right here in southeastern Oktibbeha County. This is moving off to the northeast now, and this warning is going to go until 11 o'clock. This is moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So this is some pretty good circulation here, at least detected by Doppler radar. And let's do a storm track on this to the northeast at 30, and that would put it towards Artesia by 1025 and the Bent Oak community by 1036 here. So now we're getting low-level shear lock right here. So this thing is spinning on up pretty good right now. Tornado warning now in effect for southeastern Oktibbeha and for southwestern Lowndes. That does include the city of Columbus now until 11 o'clock. So we are getting a pretty good sign that something may be trying to form in this part of our viewing area right now. In areas southeast of Starkville. It looks like the worst of the weather now is going to be southeast of Starkville, down here near Oktok, and moving towards Sessoms and Artesia. So if you are in these areas down here along Robinson Road right here, Robinson Road, that area of rotation is coming to the northeast, so you need to be in your safe zone right now. This is a quick spin-up tornado situation we're getting right now at 10:09 on our Saturday morning. But that is the part of the storm that we are most concerned about. This warning all the way back out towards Columbus here. So if you are in Columbus right now, just be aware there is a rotating part of this storm that is now moving towards the city of Columbus and southwestern parts of Lowndes County. There's our updated scan, and we are continuing to monitor our shear rate product, and it's doing a pretty good job of picking up on where we think this could be, somewhere in and around the Oktok community now. And let's go ahead and check out our storm relative velocity. And this little couplet right here, red-green right there, green going towards the radar, red away. So that right there near the Oktok area in southeastern Oktibbeha County, this is where we have the best signature of maybe getting a spin-up tornado at this time. So again, it's 10:10 this morning on the Saturday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. We are monitoring the situation. We've got meteorologist Jacob Dickey out in the field. He has been on this storm. We watched this blow through Louisville a couple of minutes ago. We've had trees reported down in Winston County, and now this system is trying to spin on up just a little bit. Let's lapse this for the last 30 minutes so you can see how quickly this has been rolling out of Winston County and now southeast of Starkville. And if it holds together, it may affect areas near Artesia and GTR Airport. So just be advised, we have that little rotating part of the storm. When it kinks out a little bit, that's where we get a little bit more concerned right now, as these little bow echo type things will develop. So going back to our shear rate product, there we go. We're still depicting that area of fast moving wind here, and that will tend to propagate up Robinson Road, it would appear. So if you are in these areas along Robinson Road, let me clear this track off of here. Sessoms, Artesia, you need to be in your safe zone right now. Southwestern parts of Lowndes County. I can hear the tornado sirens going off here in the city of Columbus. And let's go back to our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus. We are looking back to the west and southwest here. So that would be the direction that this storm will be coming in from. So I'm going to move this camera around, and we'll be able to, let's see, the tornado warning continues. Still Doppler radar indicated at this point near Oktok, moving to the northeast at 35. So I'm going to move this camera around just a little bit so we can get more of a true southwest perspective here, and just see how this all comes on into Columbus over the next couple of minutes. So right now we have a strong storm that is showing signs of rotation, bowing out a little bit along Robinson Road in southeastern parts of Oktibbeha County right there. And for reference, there's Starkville. So this is southeast of Starkville. Sessoms, Artesia, Penns, these areas here need to be in your safe zone right now. There's Bent Oak and there's Columbus behind me right there. So that area of that little bulge right there, east of Oktok now, that is where we have the strongest sign that there could be some possible tornado development if we're going to get it. If nothing else, we're going to get some very strong wind with this activity because we've seen some wind gusts, probably 40 to 60, roll out of Winston County with this. We've had some tree damage being reported with this activity. So again, we're getting that little couplet right there, maybe not as tight as what we would expect to see in one of those major tornado type situations, but northeast of Oktok now, right along Robinson Road, it looks like it's going to be traveling that general path here. We've lost a little bit of color over the last couple of scans. It was a little bit more intense about 10:08. Now it's 10:13. So these things will pulse up and they'll pulse back down. So at this point, it looks like we may be in a little bit of a weakening phase type situation now. But this is moving off to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. And that would put it very close to Columbus here sometime probably by about 10:45 or so at the latest. So it'll be about 30 minutes if it holds together. But that little bulge right there is some fast-moving wind that is moving towards Artesia right now. So we are continuing to monitor our situation here in North Mississippi. We remain under a tornado watch here until 2 o'clock this afternoon. This is probably going to be the last wave of storms to move on through here today. We expect that line right there to kick on through here and be out of here by midday, by noon, probably clearing our area by noon. And then we should be done with the severe weather threat. So if you're concerned about storms, now is our time in the Golden Triangle area. And then by noon or shortly thereafter, we will tend to lose the severe weather threat. But we are still looking at a little bit of a couplet here with our velocity product, and it is moving towards Artesia. So you need to be in your safe zone right now to just make sure you are covered in this type of situation. This is not confirmed by any means. It looks like we've lost a little bit of potential with our shear rate here. The color not nearly as robust as what had been earlier. But right now we are continuing to follow this situation as it develops here this morning. Again, this is early morning severe weather in our area, and we've been talking about this for the last, let's say the last week or so, and things are panning out exactly as we foresaw, but right now we just have to deal with it. Okay, so this will be in and out of our area here shortly. I was trying to log back into my chat room. I got disconnected, so I'm kind of blinded by that right now. So again, we have that area right there that is bulging out that is moving to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. And this continues to, let me lapse this for the last 30 minutes. This will continue along this track. So Artesia, Bent Oak, areas near GTR Airport, right along US 82 here. You know what I'm talking about here, west of Columbus. So We have some good visibility out here, so if there's something that's going to develop, some folks should be able to see something here. There's probably a nasty looking outflow boundary on the leading edge of this. We'll be able to see that with our Columbus camera as the storm gets a little bit closer to our perspective at this point. But you can see skies are darkening back to the west and southwest here. This is our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus at WCBI TV. There's a water tank, and we're looking west and then southwest here. So that's the direction of the storm. It's coming our way, and it is moving about 35 miles per hour to the northeast. So this tornado warning does include the city of Columbus now, and so you need to be taking your precautions now to prepare and just assume that this storm will continue to propagate to the northeast as we go throughout the next couple of minutes here. So right now we are monitoring a Doppler radar indicated rotating storm, which is right there near Artesia, and this is not confirmed, but this is Doppler radar indicated rotation. And let's go back in and inspect that with our shear rate. This has been marching up Robinson Road, and now it looks like it's somewhere near the Sessoms community, basically right along the Oktibbeha and Lowndes County line near Artesia. So these things are moving at about 35 miles per hour. And assuming that track continues, we'll put a, let's go back to our velocity product here. We're losing a little bit of classic signature here, but we still have a little bit of a couplet here. And getting a report from Joey Barnes saying that Winston County EMA is confirming a person is trapped in a car with power lines on top of it on Rocky Hill Road off 397, that is in Winston County, because of this complex of storms that has been moving on through. So definitely some cause for concern with the wind damage potential, and also a spin-up tornado potential here too. So let's do another storm track on where we think that this could be headed here. This would put it in Columbus by 1047. So assuming this little area of rotation holds together, there's Columbus right here by 1047, assuming it holds true at 35 miles per hour. So this is Doppler radar indicated at this point, and there's a little bit of a couplet right there being detected by radar near Artesia at this point, and it's that little bulge right there. And as I pop on our lightning, we've really had this pulse up here over the last half hour or so. And some of you have noticed, we got some reports on Twitter. I poked my head outside the studio. We've had a couple of extra breaks in the cloud deck here in the Golden Triangle area. So the air is a little bit more unstable here versus other spots earlier today where it had been overcast for a good chunk of the morning. So now we're getting more in the way of some of these lightning strikes to pop on up. We're getting 38 strikes in the last couple of minutes in this view right here. So things are a little bit more unstable here because we've had a few more breaks, it would appear, at this time with these storms kind of moving on through here. So right now we are working on getting some additional reports for you. We've had some trees reported down in Winston County, some power lines over a car down there in Winston County. I'm looking at our 4-county electric outage map over on another computer of mine, and we're getting some outages beginning to pop on that map. So we've had some other reports too across North Mississippi too, around Oxford and Tishomingo County and parts of Alcorn County too, of some wind damage earlier today with that activity. We got Jacob out in the field. Let's go ahead and take his feed up live if we can, back in the control room here. And hopefully we can hold that video. Don't know if we're going to do it, but he's out there in the field. Let's just come back to me here. I thought we had it for a little bit. I think we did. Jacob's been down there in Winston County. He's following the storm. So we've got that covered. All right. So right now we have this storm that is coming on in through southwestern Lowndes County. Now it looks like the worst of the weather is done for Oktibbeha County. So right now, if you're watching in Starkville, if you're watching in areas south of Starkville, even towards Oktok where this thing is blown on through, I think the worst of the weather is now done for you. But it is now areas east and southeast of Starkville towards Artesia and GTR Airport, and that is kicking closer and closer to Columbus as we continue to follow this here. So going back to our shear rate, we still have it, and that is basically right over Artesia, moving up Artesia Road. So, you know, the airport is right here, and then we have the steel plant here, we have the industrial park right here, so this is coming up right into that area right there. So if you are familiar with the Golden Triangle Regional Airport, you know what I'm talking about there. We have that just off to your southwest, and it's coming to the northeast. So let's go back to our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus and looking back to the west. And there's a storm complex right there. Let's go to Jacob's feed too if we got it. It looks like it may be a little bit more stable right now. I say that and it freezes up. So that's what we're dealing with here. We've got some poor cell phone coverage in parts of the areas. We try to get this video back. But Jacob's out on this storm right now. This is a live view from the Golden Triangle area. He's on, I think he's on the backside of the storm. He's trying to chase it and get up to it. But that's the situation that we are continuing to follow right there. Okay, let's go back here and follow the warning situation. Right now, it's basically we've got our updated scan, some brighter color here with our shear rate product, and that usually gives us an indication of some fast-moving wind, and that's that little pocket of wind that we've had that we've been following. Okay, we got tree on a house on Browning Creek Road off Robinson Road. Family find that's reported by Tibaha County Sheriff's Officer right there via Twitter. So appreciate that report. We are continuing to get these reports here. So this no doubt is causing some serious wind concerns across our region right now as this little pocket of wind comes back up to the northeast. So this has been the culprit. Let's go to our shear swath actually, and I'm going to fine-tune this a little bit, and we'll be able to see the swath that this thing has taken from Artesia back down. It really got going near Oktok right there. So that little path is where we've been following the activity over the last couple of minutes here. Now the worst of the weather, it looks like it's coming up Artesia Road right here, and that's going to get basically on top of the airport right now, and moving closer and closer to the city of Columbus. So there's our updated scan, and we're still getting this little notch right here. See that little notch right there near Artesia? That's where we may see one of those little appendages sneak on out and produce one of these tornadoes if we're going to get it. All right. Let's go ahead and let's take Jacob's feed full screen if you could. I got a multitask here real quick off camera. But this is meteorologist Jacob Dickey's live feed out in the field, and we're trying to catch up to that storm. Okay, Jacob, let's go to Jacob live in the field.
Hey, Keith, we are coming into Brooksville, south on US 45. Once we get through town here, we're going to turn to the north. Now, off to our north, we can see where this area of rotation is. And once we get around the corner here in about a mile, we'll get a much better view for it. It is rain wrapped. This area that has that circulation does not appear to be visible. So if you are ahead of the storm, it will be very difficult to see. You will see a wall of rain and likely some damaging winds with that. That circulation is rain wrapped and off to the north of town. We saw lots of tree damage and power line damage in Winston County coming down Brooksville Road out of Louisville. There were trees blocking the road. We were able to get through on Brooksville Road out of town, but there were definitely some areas that had some damage in that area, and power was out. Of course, we've got those damage reports from the area that we've been hearing on the news here from our news team. We're getting in contact with local emergency officials to find out the extent of some of the damage in the area as we continue to track this tornado warning storm heading towards the city of Columbus. We'll send it back to you, Keith.
Hey, Jacob, appreciate the information there. Joey Barnes reporting that the Lowndes County deputies reporting some rotation just west of GTR Airport in the not too distant past here. So that's what we're continuing with. Let's go back over here to our system. And there we go. We got the system basically over Artesia right now is moving off to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour. I'm going to do another storm track on it for you. Let's go back to our shear rate here. And last couple of scans here, that's a pretty good amount of green and red there near Artesia, again near GTR Airport, as those deputies were reporting some of this rotation. So this is moving northeast at about 35 miles per hour. And that is going to put it in the vicinity of Columbus by 10:50. So it is now 10:27. So within 20 minutes or so, or less, that's going to be in Columbus proper. So GTR Airport, any location there along 82, you need to be in your tornado safety zone, storm shelter, basement, interior rooms away from windows. We do know that there's been some wind damage reported with this little burst of wind that is coming out of this. And Jacob's now pulling up on 45 out of Brooksville. So he's going to be trying to intersect this as he comes up 45 alternate or 45 towards the storm out of Brooksville. So we will continue to monitor his feed, but right now the strongest wind is right over near GTR Airport, moving northeast, and again there's the city of Columbus right here. Let's go to our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus, and we will look back off to the west, and we can see the outflow boundary right here with that storm complex as it continues to churn our way. And like Jacob said, this may be rain wrap. We may not be able to see too much, and we've got these trees in the foreground right here. So until this thing gets right on top of Columbus, I'm going to move this camera back to the right a little bit so we can get a better handle on exactly where we may get a better view if we move it more or less due west. So if we're going to see something that's going to be in that general direction, we'll zoom on in a little bit and catch the horizon a little bit. So that is our view from downtown Columbus here as we await whatever is going to come out of this storm as it approaches Columbus from GTR Airport. So again, we're looking back to the west. So 1028, Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson here. Great to see you on this Saturday morning. Meteorologist Jacob Dickey out in the field. We've got a tornado-warned storm now in Lowndes County, Mississippi, and that's basically right over GTR Airport, that strong little curvature right there. Some strong winds circulating around this storm. And let's go back on and pop on our radar, and basically right there at GTR Airport is where we have some fast-moving wind that may be producing a tornado at some point. I'm sorry, I can't see what they're trying to tell me. Okay, Jacob's on the phone. Let's go to Jacob in the field.
Okay, see right there. Let's get back on the highway. Back up front.
He's down there trying to intersect that storm, and he's got a pretty good perspective on it. He's on the southeastern flank of that storm, coming up 45 here. So on the left side of your screen is the outflow of that storm, and to the right, that's the clearing that is over towards the Columbus area. So he's coming up 45 right now in southern Lowndes County, and we'll try to intercept this. We'll see if he can catch it or not, but the circulation is basically right over GTR Airport right now. So we'll continue to monitor that, and let's just keep that dual box up for now and go back in and investigate this. Our shear rate product is doing a pretty good job picking up on where the best circulation potential is, and again, that is right over the GTR Airport as of the last couple of scans here. And okay, tornado warning continues for let's see, this is for the southern part of Mississippi. I think we got Jacob on the phone again, so let's go to Jacob.
Hey, Keith, we are north of Brooksville here near Whispering Pines Road on 45. And just above us and to our right, we can see the area of rotation. It's on the southeast corner where it's bulging out here. Definitely spinning. Have not seen any funnel clouds with this, but we are looking at it right now. I hope you can see that on the scan there. It is clearly an area of rotation that has moved across 45 heading towards the airport. There are some other suspicious areas in front of us that we're going to be keeping an eye on, but looking at a bit of rotation, that is definitely something to take note as you head towards the city of Columbus. We're going to be following this here and get in position to the east and follow this as it heads towards the city of Columbus, but definitely looking at an area of rotation right where it should be on this storm, on just across 45 near the GTR airport. We'll send it back to you, Keith.
All right, Jake, appreciate that, and we will continue to monitor this situation. Again, this is not an actual confirmed tornado right now. We have some rotation being detected by radar and via spotters in the field, and that little bulge right here near GTR Airport over the last couple of scans here, that's where we have the most intense wind, the best chance for seeing some tornadic development if we're going to get it. And our shear rate here is pulsed down a little bit, but it's getting closer and closer to the city of Columbus. And let's go back to our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus and show you how dark it is getting on the western horizon. So there's the storm, and if you look closely, there may be a subtle little outflow boundary right there, but there's the big dark clouds here coming on into Columbus. So if you're driving along 82 and you come up upon this, there's something happening here. There's definitely going to be rain. There's definitely going to be wind, and there's some lightning in this. But we also have some potential for a spin-up tornado in this. And we'll also be watching the foreground here on some of these trees as this line of storms comes on in here, because we're likely going to have some wind-driven rain here in the city of Columbus in the not too distant future. So stay tuned on that. But this is a tornado warning now. This goes until 11 o'clock for these areas. That does include the city of Columbus, this flashing polygon. All right, the updated statement on this, tornado warning continues until 11. Storm continues to move to the northeast at 35. Again, this is a Doppler radar indicated rotation, and that correlates well with what we've been talking about here this morning. But we're still getting this little notch right here near GTR Airport. And when things kind of wrap back around like that, when you have that little notch right there, we get a little bit more concerned about getting one of these spin-up tornadoes that could develop on the leading edge of this little line of storm. So here's a 30-minute lapse. This is just how fast this stuff ramps on up. Over the last, let's just say 2 hours or so, we've just been watching these storms gradually move our way. And they really hadn't shown a lot of sign of serious problems here until now. And then we've got this little notch. We've had a little bit more unstable air with probably some of those breaks in the clouds. And now we've got this little appendage here trying to move right towards the city of Columbus. So it's getting very, very close, just west of town on the 10 Tom, basically at the 82-45 split there, near the gas station Travel Plaza truck stop, which is right there. And so something's happening back out there that way. And let's go to our Alpha Insurance camera. And okay, we're going to be able to see a little bit of, looks like we've got that outflow right here. So if there's some circulation, it's going to be somewhere back in here. So this is our live view from our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus. And let me pan this over just a little bit. And we can see this outflow a little bit better. I'll zoom it out too so we can get a better handle on this. All right, so there's our outflow boundary here. And if we're going to see that tornado, it's going to be somewhere in this vicinity here, okay? So it doesn't look like we have anything touching the ground. I can still see a little bit of light gray right there versus pure black. So we've got a definite lowering here, and I can't tell if it's rotating from this perspective, but there is the big outflow that is coming out of this whole storm complex. So there's definitely some wind and some rain in this. Don't get me wrong, this is a nasty little windstorm that will be blowing on through, regardless of a tornado or not. So if we're going to get something, it is going to be somewhere in here. And it is hard to tell exactly from our distance at this point exactly what could be going on down there. But it looks like we are going to be watching this part of the storm. So let's go back to our radar real quick. We'll come back to the Skycam imagery. And I do want to just do a little quick analysis and see if we have anything. It doesn't look as significant as what it had been earlier, but we're still getting this. There's still something going on here in this general vicinity here west of Columbus. So let's go back to our Skycam and have another view at this. So there's our lower in here, and there's got to be, if there's going to be something that's going to be in this general vicinity right here. But this whole thing is coming towards the city of Columbus. So we're going to get wind, we're going to get rain. There's going to be a lot of turbulent type clouds spinning and rotating around. It may look serious, it may not be that serious, but there's definitely a lot of turbulence. We saw that when it came through Louisville. The outflow came on in, and then it was just very turbulent, very windy, very rainy once the storm complex came on in. So let me keep moving this camera around for you, and let's go ahead and take this full screen if we can real quick, and then give folks the full screen perspective here, and that way I can manipulate this a little bit better. But this is looking back to the north, northwest, and we're looking now back to the west. So there's a little bit of a lowering there due west, and let me zoom in on that. There's so much rain in this, it's very hard to tell, but that is looking back to the west, northwest of downtown, and there is probably a big sheet of rain in there. So if there is anything that is tornadic, it's going to be very subtle, but it's going to be in this general perspective. It looks like there's a lot of rain cascading down out of those clouds back to the west of Columbus right now. So we will continue to look for something here on the western horizon. Let me go back to my radar here real quick. And that would be, we are looking in this general vicinity here with our Skycam. So it looks like there's a pretty good wall of rain in that, and it's hard to tell exactly if there's anything that is tornadic in this activity right now. But we do have a pretty good looking outflow shelf cloud type structure on this. Pretty low contrast ratio on this is. I can't really manipulate the iris, but I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. Go ahead and pop me back up here in front of this thing if you could. There's our little outflow boundary right there, and so that is a lowering here. Again, it's not touching the ground or anything, but that's that outflow that's coming out of the storm. And so behind it, it looks like we're going to have some more turbulence behind it, and then we've got this what looks to be a wall of rain right here. Okay, that is a wall. There's not much here, and then this is a wall of wind-driven rain where it goes all the way down to the ground. So let me go ahead and check my communications here. Okay, no new updates on the tornado warning at this time, but let me zoom this camera back out a little bit. And okay, I think we've got Jacob on the phone again. Jacob, go ahead and report what you got.
Hey, Keith, we are coming up to Highway 82 from 45 just west of town. We lost that area of rotation in the rain, and you can see on our camera now there is very heavy rain here and also some gusty winds. So even if, per se, this this spin-up tornado does not come towards your house. This whole line has a lot of very strong winds, could be up to 60 miles an hour with it, and that runs all the way from Macon up towards Columbus past to the air base there. So even with that tornado threat now on the north and west side of Columbus, the heavy rain, the wind, also a factor here. We've seen some small limbs that have come down in spots here. We're getting ready to come up about just a mile south of the 82 interchange. We're going to cut to the east and see if we can't get a look at that and then get north back towards the air base. But it will be hard to see this area of rotation. I think we got really lucky taking a look at it. I think you've got the Skycam in Columbus looking at it. Do not go outside and try and take a peek at this. There is a lot of wind and water that could block your view. The safest thing, go to the most interior room of your home, the lowest level possible. If you don't have a basement, an interior bathroom is a great place to take shelter. And even with that damaging wind threat, we can see some shingle damage. We can see some siding damage. We could see some of that the way these storms are maturing and moving on into the Columbus metro area. We're going to be out here continuing to monitor damage reports, being in contact with emergency managers, and bringing you the latest from the field. But for now, we'll send it back to you in the studio, Keith.
Hey, thanks, Jacob. And I do want to show you this literal wall of wind and rain. And there it is. There's the gust front right there. And notice how we have this cascading effect right there. There's going to be a tornado. It's going to be somewhere in this general area on the leading edge of this outflow. So we got nothing here, and we've got a wall of rain here that you were just showing as you were driving on through. So there's the demarcation line right here. And if we're going to get anything that would be tornadic, it's likely going to be right on this leading edge here. So we will continue to watch this ominous looking structure here. But there's a lot of turbulence behind it. It doesn't look like there's anything classic tornado looking at this point, but if you look closely, there could be a little bit of subtle rotation in this leading aspect right here before that rain sweeps on in from the backside. So let me move this back over to the right a little bit. And we got our rain-free conditions here, and there is a live look looking due north now at this outflow boundary coming on in. So quite impressive looking as far as the camera imagery is concerned. But if we were to get a tornado, this is in the situation where we would get it, right here on the leading edge of this wind-driven rain that is headed into the city of Columbus. And as a matter of fact, as I turn the camera back around, you can see there is that sheet of rain coming on in to the city of Columbus right now. So we will soon lose our perspective on all things weather and storm and tornado related if we're going to get it here in Columbus because of this rain that is coming on into the city right now. So live view tornado warning continues until 10 or until 11 o'clock here in the Columbus area, but it looks like we may have more rain and wind than anything else at this point. So again, a live view from our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus. The rain's coming on in. Let's go back to our radar and see where that is. And this is delayed a little bit, so we just saw some of that rotation come on in with our Skycam right there. It is now moving over the north side of Columbus, and as we pop on our reflectivity data, that meshes up quite well with that wall of rain that we saw coming on into town. So there you go. That was the radar perspective. This is the Skycam perspective right now. It is 10:45, and here comes the rain. It is going to rain. It is going to rain. It is going to rain. We are going to have some gusty wind here too. So I'm going to move the camera back down to the street, and we'll be able to see some of these trees probably whip around here as this wind comes on through downtown Columbus. And we've lost our perspective on the sky right now because now we're blocked by the rain that's moving on in here. But notice how the camera's bobbing up and down, and we're getting some thunder and lightning on the horizon here. We got these trees moving around, so we're getting some pretty good wind gusts here. Going to have to go back and find and see how much go back and move this back to our home position here. But go back and find exactly how strong the wind was at GTR Airport when the storm moved on through here. So again, the tornado warning continues for Lowndes County now. As the storm is moving through Columbus, they're going to keep the warning going until 11 o'clock. The National Weather Service office in Jackson. Again, that area of possible rotation moving to the northeast at 35. So let's go back to the radar, do another storm track on this, and pop up the shear rate here. And that little pocket right here, this is moving northeast at about 35 miles per hour, and that would take it towards Steens by 10:59 and into West Alabama, Lamar County here, the Melbourne community by 11:10. So that will be crossing the state line here after 11. But that is the area of rotation now moving through North Columbus out towards Steens and the Woodlawn area out here along Highway 12. That is northeastern parts of Lowndes County, northeast of the city of Columbus. So radar is a little bit delayed relative to what we saw in the Skycam, but it still comes in quite frequently. We just have to adjust things accordingly out a little bit more so from where you may see this, because this could be slightly dated with some of these fast-moving storms as they move on through here. All right, so let's go back to our Skycam here. Again, this is a Doppler radar indicated tornado warning now. That's why we're on the air until 11 o'clock. There's our updated scan. And just for perspective here, we're going to have a big swath of very heavy rainfall with some embedded lightning and thunder once the leading edge moves into your area. So if you're watching here in Steens and the Woodlawn area, and even out towards Caledonia too, you're not under these tornado warnings. But let's just say that we have a strong gusty line of storms that is coming your way, and very heavy rain now moving over Waverly Plantation, moving towards the Air Force Base, which is right here. So you will get socked with a ton of rain and some breezes here as this line of storms comes on in. And the best amount of spin is going to be on that leading edge, as we showed you, going into the situation with that outflow boundary coming into play. All right, let's go back to Jacob out in the field. Jacob, what do you got?
We are crossing the Terry Brown Memorial Bridge. That's over the Tennessee-Tombigbee waterway on US 82. One thing that we've noted out here is that the lightning has actually started to pick up. We've seen quite a few strikes very close to where we are. Sometimes that could be an indication of strengthening in rotating mesocyclones. Sometimes that can even mean that there could be some circulation increasing that. It is not a guarantee. All in all, we are still seeing lots of wind, even behind that leading edge. Gusty winds, likely 40 to 50 miles an hour at times here, making driving very hard. Lots of people are on the roads here, parked to the side, waiting for the rain and the wind to pass. We're going to be heading north on 45 here through Columbus shortly to get up towards the airbase where we think some of that stronger wind is. But anyone that's here along this line of storms from down east of Macon up to the city of Columbus and north towards Caledonia, a lot of gusty wind and heavy rain is again that chance for that spin of tornado we're continuing to monitor out here.
Yeah, Jacob, appreciate that. I just got a little message from our Scott Martin. He was reporting that a power line popped and went up in flames outside of his apartment here in the Columbus area. So can't get that to air right now, but just looking at something off camera here. Also, Joey Barnes reporting a tree down on 5th Street North near Hospital Drive. That confirms that report that Scott was reporting regarding that power and that power outage and that fire there, that power line coming on down. But okay, so here's a view from downtown Columbus. We are looking to the north. It is windy. It is wet. The storm has now moved through Columbus. I think any tornado threat for Columbus is now moving to the northeast if there is one. But notice how the camera is bobbing up and down here. We've got some gusty winds out there. We've got some very strong wind, very heavy rainfall, blinding rain. You don't want to be driving in this right now. So that's a live view from downtown Columbus. We're really losing some of the signature as far as our best shear rate, that fast-moving wind. As I move this back a couple of steps, you can see if you're watching on television, this goes back to southeastern parts of Oktibbeha County, and it was a little bit more impressive, but as it got a little bit closer to Columbus, it's really just falling apart. So right now, I would assume that the tornado warning is not going to be continued. The signature on radar is looking less than impressive, more so a straight line wind type situation right now as this line of storms continues to move on in. Okay, let's see, we may have a new update here. Okay, we have an extension of the tornado warning now. Having said all that, we now have a new extension on this tornado warning that is going to include northeastern Lowndes County. That's going to include Caledonia, the Air Force Base, Woodlawn, Steens, Flint Hill, all these areas out here in northeastern Lowndes County. You are now under a tornado warning. This goes until 11:15 in the morning. So you know where you live. If you live out here northeast of Columbus, for reference, there's Highway 12, Military Road, Woodlawn. There's Caledonia right there. Calola Springs right here. The Air Force Base is right there. And that leading edge right here is now moving through North Columbus and moving into this general vicinity. Again, this is moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. The storm continues to basically be Doppler radar indicated. But looking at some of our, let's go back to our velocity scan here. We've lost a little bit of the impressive look that we had earlier, but we're still looking at some potential here. And I guess that would be the pocket of rotation we're most concerned about now out towards the Air Force Base. So let's come on in a little bit closer here, and that is basically moving towards the, we can just say it's on the Air Force Base, that little pocket of rotation via the last scan. And that would, let's do a little timestamp on this. This is going to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. All right, so there it is. Sirens going off in the city of Columbus again. This is going to take it into Caledonia by 11:06. So tornado warning now that does include Caledonia until 11:06 or until 11:15. It does look like the storm will get towards Caledonia around 11:06 here this morning. So very strong area of rotation, maybe trying to ramp back up again around the Air Force Base. Sirens going off here in downtown Columbus. We have a tornado warning now in Lowndes County that does include areas out towards Caledonia, Calola Springs, Woodlawn, Flint Hill, northeastern Lowndes, northeast of Columbus. That goes until the 11:15 hour. The warning that had been in effect for the city of Columbus, that is set to expire at 11. I think Columbus proper, we're in the clear now. We're just in the rain. As far as the rotation factor is concerned, that is out towards the Air Force Base. So locations out in here need to be, really seeking your safe zone if you have it. Interior rooms away from windows, your storm shelter perhaps. Tornadoes like this are rather fickle. They can pop real quick and then go back up in the sky real quick. Some pretty good thunder and lightning here in town too. Just heard a pretty good clap of thunder here in Columbus. And as Jacob just mentioned on his last report, we've really had an uptick as far as the lightning is concerned with this activity as it has been moving through Lowndes County here. This is a sign of a more unstable atmosphere. And as we back off, I mean, this is the interesting thing here. We've got a cluster of lightning with this storm, and there really isn't much lightning. Notice how there's very little lightning north or south. It just seems like that little pocket right here in Lowndes County is obviously it's the most intense. We've got the lightning and we've got the rotation and the wind speed, the wind-driven rain as well. So let's go back to our Alpha Insurance camera in Columbus, and we're probably just going to be blinded by rain, and we are. Can't really see much right now looking due north, but it is wet, it is windy, or breezy, not as windy as it had been, but it's now going to rain itself out here going forward. So let's go back in and concentrate on where we have the reason for being here this morning, the area of rotation, which now looks like it may be ramping back up a little bit more so. This is right south of the Air Force Base over the last scan along Gatlin Road. And this is moving to the northeast along and out towards Wolf Road and Calola Roads out here. So all those will go up towards Caledonia, which is right here. So locations out in here, it's really starting to ramp up right there, northeast of Oakdale Park, northeast of Gatlin Road. So heads up, locations along 45 east of the Air Force Base, northeastern Lowndes. This is the best looking signature we've had on our shear rate product over the last couple of scans. And so there definitely could be something going on, if nothing else, some very strong wind, but there's a little bit of something going on there near Calola Springs, and that is moving off to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So hopefully those of you watching right now in Caledonia, Flint Hill, northeastern Lowndes County, you need to be in your safe zone right now and make sure that you ride out the storm in a safe place. And we're getting a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning strikes here in the Columbus area too. Just hearing the thunder crackle and crash outside of the building right now. So let's go back and check out our shear rate. And this is definitely looking like there's something of concern here in the area of the Air Force Base in 45, right along Ridge Road there, near a couple miles east of 45, somewhere right up in here. So for reference, the Air Force Base is right here. All right, so let's go back and check out our shear rate, and there you have it. So this looks like it's moving towards Caledonia, so please heed the warning. We have a Doppler radar indicated tornado warning now. Let's see, Jory Talley reporting she's lost some power on Spivey Road and off Ridge Road as well. Okay, so we're getting reports of some power outages and some issues like that here in the northern parts of Columbus and parts of Lowndes County too, north of Columbus. So again, it's 10:58. I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. This is severe weather coverage on WCBI TV on our Saturday morning. This is likely going to be the last batch of severe weather we have today. It's rolling through right now. Should be clearing the area sometime after or by noon or shortly thereafter. There's our updated scan. We have a pretty good signature of some fast-moving wind right here, moving just to the east and northeast of the Air Force Base out towards Caledonia here. So this is a serious situation. It's hard to tell looking at this, but when we show something like that right there, that is a better perspective for those of you watching at home of where the most intense storminess is that could be producing a tornado or at least some wind damage here. So that is moving out towards Caledonia, so heads up here. Our velocity product not nearly as classic, but there's something going on up there most likely. And as we go to our other velocity product, again, there's something going on in that general vicinity. So that's why we like to show the shear rate, because it really does a pretty good job of picking up where the fastest moving wind is. Now, this doesn't guarantee a storm that's going to produce a tornado, but it does really pick up on where the worst of the wind is probably at any given time. Latest storm track on this just takes it to Caledonia by 11:08, Flint Hill by 11:13, and the Bedford community there of Lamar County by 11:23, and perhaps Vernon may be affected by this by 11:27. Okay, we have no warnings yet for Lamar County, Alabama, but that could change here.